OMD unable to copy.
Affirmative. YouTube is live and on the air.
Copy, thanks. Good evening, this is James, Alpha Echo 6, Juliet Golf, your net control operator for the River City Arcs Slow Scan TV Net. This net serves for training and practice in image transmission modes and meets Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. on the N6NA repeater on 441.30 megahertz. River City Arcs members and all licensed radio amateurs are welcome to participate. If you wish to join the net or need to make a call at any time, please announce your call sign between transmissions and net control will acknowledge you. If an emergency should arise and you need the repeater, please contact net control by saying, "Break, break." A double break signifies emergency traffic. The net will stand by for you until the emergency is terminated or the traffic is moved to another frequency. Stations who wish to check in are asked to respond with their full call sign using the recognized ITU phonetic alphabet and their name. I'll recognize each station before continuing. Any station who wishes to check into the net, please come now.
November 6, Papa Golf, Quebec, Bob.
Kilo Lima 7, Hotel Quebec, Romeo, Neil.
Alpha India 6, Delta Golf, Joel in Florence.
Kilo Papa 4, Mike Delta, Carol, Citrus Heights.
I have Bob, N6PGQ, and Neil, KL7HQR, Joel, AI6DG, and Carol, KP4MD. Are there other stations that would like to check into the net? All right, well, we'll continue with Bob, N6PGQ. If you are ready, it's your turn. You'll be number one tonight.
Okay, this is N6PGQ, PD 120.
Well, Bob, it seems like you have a lot of these cameras. Just a quick comment on the photo. I do have a lot of white, I guess pixel pops, but it's a good photo. Neil, KL7HQR.
Yeah, KL7HQR. Yeah, the same thing here, Bob. Your signal doesn't seem to be as strong as normally is into the repeater, or there is something on the repeater because a lot of white specks, a lot of pops. But otherwise, as it was mentioned, good picture. Two cameras side by side. I don't know much about the camera, but I can see reflex on the right one, and double lenses on both of them. And looks like you have the viewfinder on top. Looks like it's some of the best models and most the best quality models for the year. I don't know when, but I remember when I was growing up, those cameras would cost a lot more than a ham radio today. Back to Net.
Thanks, Neil. On YouTube, we have Jen KI1TTY observing. I don't know if she's going to come on the air tonight or not. And Craig, Whiskey Papa 2 November. Craig wondered if one of those was a Hasselblad, and obviously one is a Rolly. So I know, Bob, you're going to tell us more. Joel, AI6DG, go ahead.
I don't think Hasselblad made twin lens reflexes. But this is pretty much a repeat from last week, isn't it? I think we had a Rolleiflex on the right last week also. The one on the left's obviously a different camera. Yep, that's all I have to say, more or less. AI6TG, back to Net.
This is AE6JG. Thanks, Joel. Carol, KP4MD.
Yeah, okay, this is KP4MD. Yeah, I really don't know very much about these cameras, but I have to say the Rolleiflex, I recognize that name from a bossa nova song called Desafinado. I think maybe Neil probably knows that song also. But back to Net. This is KP4MD.
Thanks, Carol. Your sound is kind of low, quiet, and sporadically cutting out a little bit. Similar to last week, by the end of the Net last week, your volume was up, so I'm not sure what's causing that. This is James, AE6JG. Neil, are you ready to transmit?
Yes, you want to go to Bob for clarification on the picture?
Oh, I'm sorry, Bob. I forgot to come back to you. Yeah, I want to know, how many of these cameras do you have?
Oh, a few. Okay, real quickly, the picture quality would have probably been better if I didn't use a 10-meter antenna. Oh, well. Anyway, on the right is a Rolleiflex, and this is about the last model that they made. It has a selenium light meter that you can see if the quality was probably good. That's right above the top lens, and the light meter indicator is in the focusing knob, which is on the camera's left. The camera on the left is about the last twin lens reflex that was made. It was made in China, and it's a twin lens attempt by the Chinese to make a fairly good camera. Let me drop this. It has a 3.5 lens, while the Rolleiflex has a 2.8. That was one of their options. They also made one with a 3.5 lens. The shutter speeds and the f-stops on the Chinese camera are around the bottom lens, and you set them. You have to take your eyes off the viewfinder to set them. The Rolleiflex uses those two wheels that are between the two lenses off to the periphery to set the shutter speed and the f-stops, and you view it through a little window that's on top of the top lens. The Rolleis are substantially better. The Chinese was, a couple $100 camera, and the Rollei was definitely not. So anyway, there's the story. On to the next picture, N6PGQ.
Thanks, Bob, and Neil, thanks for the reminder. KL7HQR AE6JG. Neil, go ahead.
Okay, let's give it a try. PE 120.
That is a very interesting picture, Neil. I'll let Joel comment first, AI6DG.
Kind of scary looking picture as I try to figure out what the heck I'm looking at, because I don't know if it's real or not and whether they're live or not. So we got two heads of the whitish one on the left and a blackish one on the right. Looks like we've got some rawhide thongs up above between the two heads, a big clump of it, or something that's long and stringy. I can't tell whether, like I said, if it's real, stuffed, fake, alive. Eyes look funny, nose looks funny. I would say scary looking. Back to net, AI6DG.
Thanks, Joel. We have K6VDU, Kilo 6 Victor Delta Uniform, watching on YouTube now as well. Good evening, Kai. Carol, KP4MD, comments about Neil's photo.
Yeah, okay, this is KP4MD. I turned up my audio. It might be a little bit louder now. Looks like two heads of dogs or wolves or something. Probably one of the wild animals that live in Alaska. That's what I'm guessing. They look like been taxidermied. Back to net. There's hardly any pixel pops. Over.
Thanks, Carol. Yeah, your audio's better. It's getting better. Bob, N6PGQ.
Well, I have not a whole heck of an idea what it could be, but knowing Neil's past, they could be a couple of sled dogs, but, we'll find out real quickly from Neil in 6PGQ.
Comment?
Comment, go ahead.
Good evening, this is Dave, WV6YLK. I want to know how we got them from the future. If you look at the date on there, that's the end of next month, not this month.
Well, we'll have to let Neil respond to that. Thanks, Dave. I wonder if it's a set of hand warmers. Okay, Neil, your turn. KL7HQR. What are we looking at?
Scale 7HQI. Well, first of all, on the date, trying to get this thing ready for the net tonight. Operator mistake, as we used to say in the Air Force, short between the headsets. I shall correct that. On the original, you guys are going to have to be stuck with the future. James, you kind of hit it on the end there. The other day we were talking about Morse code, and the conversation came in, and I mentioned something about my adventures on Iditarod race. And I remember I had a few things here. These are head warmers. They are gloves made out of the heads of wolves. And it was made by one of the Eskimos that was one of the racers. What's above is the lanyard that holds the two of them, because when they are on the race, they just let it hang over their necks so that they don't lose them. And but they're dangling low enough so if they need, they can wear them and use them. It was given to me on the last one in 1976, which was the last one. I supported the race for 4 years with communication, and when there was the last race, and he was kind enough to take it out of his sled and gave it to me, and I hold it very, very with a lot of pride. And I decided to find it and take it out of the plastic bag and take a picture for the net tonight. If we ever have a chance to talk more about Iditarod, I have a few other items. Back to net.
You have such an amazing background, Neil, and I'm sure you have a lot of Iditarod stories. Well, that's really interesting. Thanks for sharing that. We have time this evening if anybody has any questions for Neil. All right, Joel, it's your turn to share a photo. AI6DG, this is AE6JG. Go ahead, Joel.
PD120.
Thanks, Joel. Really good quality. I have some sync issues, but really good quality. Carol, KP4MD, are you ready to comment?
Yeah, this is KP4MD. I also had to do a resync on that. So there's a little bit of slicing in the top 1/3 of the picture because I had to do the resync. But nice picture. I don't see hardly any pixel pops. And my mom had a Singer sewing machine like that with that same exact foot pedal. I remember her using that when I was a kid back in the 50s. So nice unit there. I think she had the same almost tabletop. I had the little compartment there to the right there under that little door. Back to Nets, KP4MD.
Thanks, Carol. Bob, N6PGQ, comments?
Yeah, electric motor powered Singer sewing machine. The speed control is in the middle, and might work for a good push to talk switch. Anyway, I think everybody's mother or grandmother had one of those. It doesn't have a treadle, but it's been made to use electricity in 6PGQ.
Thanks, Bob. Neil, KL7HQR.
KL7HQR. Same thing with what Carol called the slicing up on top. I noticed on YouTube the syncing problems that she corrected. It was pretty severe for a while. Yeah, the Singer, I remember my mother having one of those. And I actually work for that company. I work for Singer Link. They purchased the Link flight simulators, and that's where I went to work after I retired from the Air Force. But they didn't do any sewing machines. But my grandmother had the same one, but no electricity. You had to wiggle your foot. I don't know if that's what Bob meant by the treadle, but very, very good picture. Thanks for. It looks like you guys are having all kinds of good old things to take picture of. I'm gonna have to go buy some old things. Back to Net.
Thanks, Neil. I don't have much more to add. I've seen factories. I've seen these kinds of machines in operation at factories in different countries. Who knows? They're so well built they might still be working. Although this one has an electric foot pedal, so it may not have a treadle, unless that's what you meant, Bob. Joel, AS6DG, tell us about it.
This was, I believe, originally my grandmother's, and then it went to my mother. Not that my mother did sewing at all, but my grandmother definitely did. I don't know exactly how old this is. I don't believe it's one of the ones that's old enough that it was converted from the treadle version and electric motor added. I think it was always electric motor driven. It's just incredible how it's built. I mean, it weighs a ton. It's a cast iron frame, well machined, beautiful wooden case. You can see a bit of the case in the background on the right that completely covers it. And I think I've got all the parts, including the spindles or thimbles or whatever they're called. Yeah, these things, I think there were a lot of them made, and they lasted forever, so there's still a lot of them around. And the new sewing machines, I think, just are nothing at all like that. They do a lot more. They're fancy. They do embroidery. But I can't imagine that they're built anywhere near as well. It's kind of like looking at some of the printers at work. You look at the old original HP laser jets that weigh a ton, and they're almost all aluminum and metal, and the new ones are almost all plastic. So got some Xeroxes that are all plastic and flimsy and just complete junk. Anyway, they just don't build things like they used to, that's for sure. Back to Net. I'm starting to ramble, so it's definitely time for Back to Net. AI6DG.
Thanks, Joel. Your rambles are fun to listen to. We have Andrew from Oklahoma now who's joined us. Good evening, Andrew. And Alf from West Sacramento, K6PRD. And K6VDU, you go by Nelson, so I will correct myself before. And N6GML is joining us. I'm trying to remember the first name. N6GML on YouTube, if you can put your name in, that would be great. But good evening, all. Joel, I have one question. How come you haven't turned this into an antenna tuner? It has all the right parts.
You mean the pedal? Use the pedal as a PTT? I mean, there's no coils or inductors in there unless you're talking about pulling the motor apart and using the windings, the enameled wire to make something.
I was thinking you could use the, I forget what it's called, the side spindle that moves the thread, and yeah, you could take out the innards and put in new innards or coil capacitors, whatever. Could be a really interesting antenna tuner.
Definitely the traditional meaning of a boat anchor.
For sure. Thanks, Joel. Any questions for Joel? All right, Carol, it's your turn, KP4MD.
Okay, this is KP4MD, and this is going to be PD120.
Well, Carol, I have a good copy with pixel pops throughout, but not that many. And it looks like a medium old HF rig with a medium old business card on top of an antenna tuner. Bob, N6PGQ, go ahead.
And that's about all I was going to say. We have the radio tuned to 20 meters, and Carol's probably an eyeball QSO card, or QSL card, and a antenna tuner down there, maybe an ADG or something like that. So back to Carol.
Well, let's send it over to Neil, KL7HQR.
Yeah, KL7HQR. Yeah, good copy here. The pops on a picture are very, very light, very little. For me, not too many. As it was said, radio tuned to 142.73 or 14,273, 14,273. Yeah, upper sideband. So it's 20 meters, 14,273. And the card, I don't know the size of the radio, so it could be a real QSL card that can barely make it. I think it says Mars in the center, in the circle. KP4MD/W6, cannot read the rest. I see the ARRL symbol in the bottom left. On the very bottom left of the picture is a miniature of the picture that Joel sent. And so, good copy. Back to net.
Thanks, Neil. Joel, AI6DG, AE6JG. Go ahead, Joel.
LDG, antenna tuner on the bottom inside a shelf or a case or a box or something. And on top of that's resting in a Lenco HF rig tuned to 14.273.0. And a card with KP4MD stroke W6. Does Carol, I wonder if Carol uses that when she's on HF. Everything else has been covered. Back to net, AI6DG.
Thanks, Joel. Carol, tell us about the radio. I'm interested in the handmade shelf and the business card. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, this is KP4MD, and very good. Yeah, that Alinco radio, it's a DX70TH, and I bought that almost 30 years ago. It was in 1990, early 1990s, and I used to use this when I was HF Mobile. This actually was a little wooden frame that I put together to mount that radio on top over the hump in my old Toyota Previa minivan, and it fit quite well over that hump there in the center. There was some space under the dashboard. I could fit it in there, and underneath there is the LDG Z11 PRO. Yeah, the Z11 Pro tuner, and they worked very well together. Actually, I had the wired up a interface cable that went directly from the Alinco to that LDG, so I could press the tune button on the Alinco, and it would automatically send a low-level carrier to tune the LDG. And that's a little business card that I used to use. I don't use those anymore. Now I have the one with ARRL only N6NA on there. But yeah, I was in Mars at the time. I was the other thing next to Mars logo is Marco. It's the Medical Amateur Radio Council. And then next to the ARRL diamond is the picture of the lady sitting on top of the globe, and that's the YRL logo. So yeah, I haven't done this in a long time. I haven't done HF Mobile in over probably a dozen years. But it was a lot of fun when I did it. Back to Nets, KP4MD.
Thanks, Carol. I built something very similar for my CB radio that would sit on the hump of the different cars I had access to, including my mother's Chrysler Cordoba. Any questions for Carol? This is AE6JG.
KL7HQR. Carol, how much mobile did you do, and what kind of communication were you doing? Primarily just Mars and message related, or did you do any DXs or use it during the long trips?
Yeah, I didn't actually operate very much. I don't think I really operated much HF while I was driving. It's a little distracting with the single sideband and having to fine tune and that sort of thing. But I still have the antenna. It's the Comet CAHV with all of the resonators for 40, 20, 17, 15, and 10 meters. And you could put all of these resonators together and make it like a spider, and the thing will actually resonate on all those different bands, automatic band switching, which I really liked very much. And actually, I started using this before I moved here to Sacramento. I was back in Omaha, Nebraska, and sometimes I would go out in my lunch hour, just sit in the my van during lunch hour and work some GX, and I would get on 15 meters and work South Africa and East Coast. It was a lot of fun doing it that sort of way. Back to you, Net, KP for MD.
Thanks, Carol. Yeah, I don't envision HF Mobile in my future just because it seems too complicated to do, certainly while you're driving. Any other comments for Carol on this before we move to me, I guess? I have the last image to share.
KL7HQI, the reason for the question is that I did have a somewhat similar installation with my Drake TR3 in my VW van when I drove from Michigan to California to Alaska after I got married the first time. And it was good communication. We talked to Brazil almost every day from the car. We were using the Hustler antenna with the resonators too. So I was just wondering what kind of adventures you had with it. So back to that, and we do have somebody new on YouTube.
KL7HQR AE6JG. We have a new visitor, Butch from Eastern North Carolina, Kilo Foxtrot 4 Hotel Romeo. Thanks for joining us, Butch. Craig in Louisiana, and Andrew in Oklahoma. We have Alf in West Sacramento and Jen in Sacramento. So we have a great group on. Oh, and Dave from beautiful downtown Wilton. We have a great group on YouTube. Any other comments before I send my photo? This is AE6JG. Okay, Bob, N6PGQ. Go ahead.
Well, it looks like we've got 9 or 10 surfboards all leaned up against a set of stairs and a second-story balcony. There's a nice metal door off to the right and a couple of bicycle wheels. Looks like somebody's been enjoying a little bit of surfing in the ocean. So I'll be interested to hear what we have to say. Very, very little pixel pops, just very few little single dots. So the band must be improving. N6PGQ.
Thanks, Bob. I do notice on the YouTube version that the right side of the screen has a white band going down vertically past the door. Do you see that?
Well, I do not. The picture's completely free of any problems.
Okay, that's interesting. Maybe when Carol comments, she can. Maybe it's a syncing issue again or something. Okay, Neil, KL7HQR.
It's KL7HQR. First of all, I think out of all the pictures sent today, this is the most perfect copy here. As Bob said, very, very few. Maybe I can count 1, 2 dots in there. And the white band on YouTube disappears. So we'll see what Carol has to say. I believe these is one of two things. It's James' collection of brand new snowboards that he would like to go and try up the hill, or is his surfing boards that he's practicing to do some surfing board mobile and trying to figure out how to hold the antenna and still maintain balance. So anyway, enough silly things. Back to Net.
Oh, Neil, you're getting close. Joel, AI6DG.
So we're obviously looking at the ground floor of an apartment complex. We've got a door on the left with, like has been mentioned, a couple of bicycles on the left and the right of it. We got the very top of the picture, we can see the edge of the second-story balcony with railings around it, and maybe some of the doors into apartments with stairs on the left coming down from there. And what's interesting is beside those stairs in the center of the photo is a rack with a whole bunch of surfboards and some surfboards leaning against the wall next to it. I'm not sure if that door on the right's another apartment or if it's actually the entrance into the apartment complex courtyard. That actually makes more sense because I would think anywhere else in an unlocked area, those boards would disappear pretty quick. Obviously, we're in a surfing area, so it could be Hawaii or maybe LA, Venice Beach, somewhere near with a very nearby, within walking distance beach. Otherwise, I would think the boards wouldn't be there to just grab and run to the beach. But there's a fire extinguisher in the wall next to the door. Back to Net, AI6DG. Actually, quick second look, ADA compliance with the ramp to the door and the yellow painted paint with the curbs on each side. Okay, back to Net.
You are very perceptive, Joel. AI6DG, AE6JG, over to Carol, KP4MD.
Okay, thank you. This is KP4MD. I have nothing else to add except that there's, if any, pixel pops, only half a dozen. This is a very, very clear picture coming in here. I want to explain that bar that you saw off the right side of the picture. I have to juggle a whole bunch of windows on my display here. And if that RX viewer window that I'm projecting on YouTube, part of it was off the screen. So I had to drag it back completely into the display in order to get the rest of that picture on there. It's just a curious way that OBS Studio handles all of these different windows that I've got making the collage that's going out on YouTube. So that's it, and looks like a bunch of surfboards. Lots of fun. Back to Nets, KP4MD.
Thanks, Carol. I was just curious if it wasn't part of a transmission. And thank you for all you do in terms of coordinating the live broadcast of this Radio Net through YouTube Live. Thank you for that. Craig from Louisiana says that in 1963 he tried to shoot the pier in Huntington Beach, thus ending his surfing career. I'll take a break. This is a photo I took the other week when we were visiting our daughter in San Diego, and this is what you see when you enter her apartment lobby. If you go out that door and turn right, you are basically walking onto sand and going surfing if you want to go surfing. Any other comments or questions?
Does your daughter surf, or do you surf, KL7HQ?
Neither one of us surfs. She plays volleyball sometimes, because also when you go out to the right, they have permanent volleyball, sand volleyball set up out there. No, neither one of us surf, and I saw this setup, and I thought this would be perfect for slow scan TV. But no, we're not involved in surfing, but her neighbors are. Any other questions or comments before I close the net?
I think the only comment I have, KL7HQR, is thank you for the good job you do. I like you thank Carol for her efforts, but you do a very smooth coordination down there. And I am very pleased to see how many people on YouTube we are beginning to attract, and I appreciate they taking the time, even with the difference in time zones. So, thanks for that, KL7HQR.
That's a really good point, yes, because they're on East Coast time or Midwest time, so we appreciate all of those who are viewing from a distance. Any last comments before I close the net? All right, well, thanks to all of you who participated in tonight's Slow Scan TV Net. We hope to see you again next Wednesday at 9 p.m. The net is officially closed at 9:47 p.m. This is James, Alpha Echo 6, Juliet Golf, wishing all of you a good evening.